Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Today, we are going to look at another ways of reading cities, another ways of understanding urban form. Earlier in those three lectures, we covered three different ways of looking at cities. We looked at townscape ideas, aesthetics of cities. We looked at perceptual understanding of cities through a couple of models. We looked at linkage and space syntax understanding of urban form. We also looked at figure ground idea of reading the cities. What we're going to do today is urban morphology method of reading cities. This method actually combines figure ground and activity pattern together and tries to look at little larger understanding of cities. As one sees in last three lectures, some of the ideas are basic fundamentals, compositional, perceptual kind of things. And now we are trying to look at some more complex way of understanding cities. Urban morphology. As you understand, the word morphology means study of forms. So the very idea of urban, the city, has also a certain quality of form, the way we look at form in architecture. And what is that nature of form? How do we analyze that form? So let's look at the what you see is an image of a city in Iran, Isfahan city. And if you look at the very idea of the way buildings are organized around a large open space leading to mosque, and entire the form of the city is begins to organize around these important structures. I mean, a lot of Islamic cities have very similar character. So the morphology is actually the quality of surface or a physical combinations of building form and building forms together. When they combine together, you have an urban form. So there are several components and elements that makes this physical setting, or what we call it, urban form. So this is just one example, the city of Isfahan. If you look at various other cities, you will find some kind of peculiar structure depending on various influential aspects, religion, for example, or commercial activities, or trading port, or administrative structure. So these are all various aspects of cities which defines the urban morphology. This is one of the examples. So various types of various methods through which you read cities. So the blue are the components that we have already looked at in last three lectures. The fourth one in red color, and the one which are in dark black are yet to be done, which are advanced theories, advanced ways, methods of reading cities, and that we will try to cover up in subsequent lectures. So slowly we are making a kind of a move towards a complex way of understanding the configuration of cities. And every city through these methods reveals very peculiar character. So there are four aspects when you start looking at urban morphology. The first is the pattern. I mean, the pattern generally we always, we study patterns through various mediums. We often select a lot of stuff that we use in everyday life is depending on what we call it pattern. So pattern is basically a geometrical structure. And when it comes to urban form, the geometrical structure is constituted by building blocks and street layouts. That makes a general pattern. But pattern is this is the first layer of pattern, and there are other layers that you add in understanding the pattern. So one of the layer that adds to understanding of pattern is grain. The grain is basically the granular qualities that you see, or a texture quality that you see. Let's, for example, in a fabric you see a texture, or a material you see a texture, and this texture is either fine or coarse, and it depends on various situations. We study morphology through a similar understanding of grain, which is fine and coarse. The texture is basically a mix of these two types of grains. When they come together, how they are configured, how they merge together, how they contradict each other, how they conflict, how they complement. So variety of mix of these two aspects. We often call it even grain or uneven grain in that sense. And the fourth one is very important one, tissue. Tissue is basically a spatial configuration of grain, texture, pattern, and how activity is embedded in it. So once you study grain and texture, you will be able to identify the tissue. It's a peculiar urban setting. When grains they meet, they create sense of evenness, unevenness. It amounts to certain kind of activity. And more uneven texture means more diverse activity. So what you see is a series of maps trying to depict pattern in the city. So on the left bottom corner, what you see is an example of botany, a leaf structure. You have primary, amateur, which kind of decides the overall structure. Then you have a secondary, and then your tertiary kind of a thing, and how they are distributed in a kind of a systematic way. Morphology understanding is somehow related to the way we look at botany. Not that cities are so rigidly structured like that. It all depends on various other influential components. So what you see on the top left is one of the historic cities with a little mix of different types of grains, different types of street structure. But one can see clearly it organically evolved, and it has a very similar building typologies. If you go on the right hand side, you can see the building blocks. Building blocks are from one street end to the other street, and that constitute one block. And block contains several buildings, several units, but they are merged, they are morphed together. An overall structure could be seen through street, open courtyard, and courtyards within the building. So that form the overall structure of the building. The one in the center at the bottom looks at urban form of two different types, which is organically evolved and geometrically overlaid. You can see clearly the street patterns, diagonal street patterns. They are layered on organic structure. Of course, it gives a very interesting urban form from experiential point of view. I mean, this is exactly what we discussed last time. Jaipur is a classic example of planned city which is allowing organicness within. Unlike that, this city, what you see is organically already evolved and grid has been superimposed. And what you see on the extreme right bottom is any generic development that you see, a uniform texture, uniform pattern, absolutely no diversity, and which leads to what we call it monotony. So monotonical structure has its own social and cultural implications. We'll see subsequently when we move forward in our understanding of urban form. So the pattern of the city is the way how different functions, elements of the form are distributed or mixed together. What you see in the map is actually, looking at variety of building types. You can clearly draw a variety of districts in this. One which are similar in nature, one which are large, some are somewhere in between. There are different patterns on either side. You can see one is concentric rings, other one is gridded iron structure superimposed with diagonal street forms. Now this, of course, this has a diversity, but it also has a sharp contrast because these forms have emerged in two different times. City has two different timelines, distinct timelines, and within that, building blocks, building types also have evolved. And one could look at this pattern of the geometry amounting to certain kind of pattern of activities. Now you can also see the grain, which is a fine grain on one side and maybe a coarse grain which is dark color on other side. It shows the sharp contrast of building blocks. And very often when you see a small footprint of the building, means they are domesticated environment, and one which are large footprints means they are large civic, administrative, commercial activities in the city. So this is a one classic example of coarse grain where you will see distinct types of building footprints coming together. And one can see the historical layers that have emerged over a period of time. They often creates a stark contrast of building typologies. And it also means that it has a very peculiar historic character. It's a historic district of the city. So the coarse grain brings about infrequent kind of a building types, while fine grains brings about a frequent repeated quality of building grains. And one can see some fine grains on a peripheral, but not so much. The entire historic district has a very coarse grain kind of a distribution of urban form. So now if you look at this, 9 cities, one can see the morphological structure, different morphological structure in each cities. Large footprints, small footprints, fine grain, coarse grain, and how city negotiates these grids, and how they are superimposed and how they are layered, and one can imagine the spatial configuration which are organic in nature on one side versus planned structure on other side. At the same time, one can clearly see the overlap of both the structure, organic and planned, together, and this really becomes a very interesting way in which you begin to differentiate the characteristics of the city. For example, Paris and Rome, if you look at it, one can clearly see the grids have been superimposed. Perhaps way back in Napoleonic era, when he ordered to bulldoze some of this old urban fabric with boulevards, and how they have ruptured the fabric and created a gridded structure within, while Rome is still intact with its organic pattern. Of course, there are certain public domains, public realms, plazas may have emerged by removing some buildings and things like that to establish the connectivity, but more or less the city structure remains same. Now, if you look at New York or Toronto, they have a very similar gridded structure. Toronto is little bit mix of both, but San Francisco is an interesting city. It has variety of this kind of patterns mixed together, and of course the geography of the city also adds the important feature to the city. So likewise, you can read many other cities in a similar framework. So when you see a larger canvas of the city, it's it becomes very interesting to see the overall texture, which is mix of fine grains, coarse grain, your pattern of the streets, how they really collide, how they really create a very, very interestingly conflicting structure. The wide street, narrow street, the plaza merges with the street, the plaza becomes part of the building fronts. One can see the dense, large footprints in the center with two street, crossing. Perhaps there is a great possibility that this structure has large administrative buildings, and as you move away from that, you can see the fabric, which is fairly fine grain, maybe more domesticated environment, with a very peculiar building typologies. So one can differentiate variety of building types when you read the morphological structure. Very important part of this morphology structure understanding of urban form is tissue, because tissue actually looks at the functionality of the spatial network that has been created through morphology, that is fine grain and coarse grain, and one can identify the formation of, for example, informal activity, formal activity, or one can say something which is more domesticated, where you could see pedestrianization or more domesticated informal activities in the fabric. So once you begin to draw this variety of activity pattern in the morphological structure, it reveals a very distinct kind of a map. It shows a variety of formation of what we call it energized conditions, variety of pause conditions, or variety of connectivity. So one can see large, dense, thick red marks, or perhaps more, bazaar or large commercial activities. And the thin red lines are perhaps the connectors. Where almost large geometric color-coded form becomes a large pause point. And this creates a very interesting structure of the city through connecting all the tissues together. So one can define distinct types of tissues with different kinds of color codes, and one can see formal, informal, mixed use, more domesticated, more commercial, or other kinds of functionality that city accommodates. And this is the way you lay the the activity structure on the morphology. Tissues also are of different kinds. If you look at the diagram on the extreme left, is a static tissue. It means there is a uniform or a fine grains, very fine grains, which allows almost similar types of activity. And these are all perhaps residential districts, so we have a very similar pattern of activities. But if you look at the one which in the center, where two districts, when they merge together, a wedge shape kind of a stretched out tissue that forms, perhaps looking at large formation of tissue. This could mean that this could be a kind of activity pattern based on times, based on certain functionality of the cities, and how they really stitch two sides together through this kind of large activity pattern. And the third one is more the mix of static and elastic, which is more of like a campus where you have large public places, open spaces, and they are very strictly time bound, because the open spaces are used in a particular time of the day in a particular way. And so each categories, one can look at it from either from overlapping with each other, or one can look at the on a timeline, day timeline, how this activity changes. So these tissues also have a very dynamic character, and it is necessary that how this dynamicness is instilled by the way in which fabric is formed. So now two distinct cities, two distinct morphological structure. One on the left definitely has more generic, organically evolved pattern, which is very fine grain. Somewhere looks like it has some kind of a gridded structure, but otherwise, by and large, it's a very organically evolved kind of a urban form. The one on the right side definitely looks like a maybe a inner city, historic city, which has evolved historically for the defense reason, and formation of moats and waterways, perhaps have different meaning and different reason. But as you see that structure slowly getting eroded as one goes on a periphery, and you will see the different kind of structure emerges. So The core of the cities have large footprints. They form a very coarse grain, but within that core itself, on a periphery, you can see a fine grain. So definitely, the city structure has a very strong administrative buildings, civic architecture, which becoming a part of the core. And as one moves away, the uniformity defines the suburban areas, which has emerged much later. The city obviously has one common structure, that is the waterways coming into the fabric, becomes a very important part of the city, the urban form. So one can look at the second stage of analysis from this basic understanding of texture, grains, and move to a kind of understanding of tissues. So tissue formation in first category, first urban form would be quite interesting, because there are a series of urban voids of different scale. While in second case, it's a concentric rings, but there is a one linear line which kind of cuts through that fabric, and perhaps there will be a very different kind of tissue structure that you'll be able to draw in the second case. Similar, the structure one has a very distinct characteristics, the river, which cuts the urban form into two sides. But it also means one can draw a very immediate conclusion that city has evolved where the city fabric is dense. The building types are distinct. Of course, there are large footprints you see, which are important historic buildings. While other side you will see the fine grains. It means it is a later part of the city. While the image on the right side also has a very peculiar two distinct character. One obviously which is historically evolved, but other side you will see some building types have been partly kind of replicated to create a kind of a street architecture. But as one moves away from the large building footprints, you will see small footprints, distinct building types, and the change in morphology means the change in nature of urban setting, means change in nature of the tissues, and change in nature of public realm. So these are the basic analysis of any given urban form. What do you expect to draw? How do you draw? So this is one example where you will see four comparative urban form, and as I said, the fine grains is more frequented kind of a fabric structure. Coarse grain is infrequent, and in both granule structure, you will find a different kind of tissues, different kind of street character, different kind of activity. And as one moves from fine grain to coarse grain, you will find the activity pattern is kind of controlled, because they are important part of city administrative structure, civic structure, or large administrative structure of the cities. And certain activities are controlled, certain activities are restricted, while as we move into fine grains, the degree of informality becomes higher. So one example in Indian context would be Delhi. There are distinct street patterns which allows certain kind of activity pattern during the various times of the day, but some part of the cities you will find they are controlled, the activities are strictly controlled. So this is way one can begin to dissect the anatomy of urban form. So this is how a comprehensive morphological analysis of urban form, where you look at the pattern, that is a grid, which is organic, inorganic, regular, irregular. One can draw and understand the basic pattern of the city, and then you come down to urban fabric and look at the variety of grains, the granular composition of the city. And then you move to third part, which is understanding of tissues, and identify, tissues based on either the formal sense or in a time bounded sense. And once you combine these three things together, we get a very comprehensive understanding of urban form, its characteristics, its the activities that it houses, and perhaps sometime when you look at tissues, it also gives you a changing nature of the public realm over a period of time through the understanding of tissue. Thank you.